Just before we address the topic of today's video, can we talk about the title used by the Register? OpenSUSE Deep6's Deepin desktop over security stink. Of all phrases you could use, why did you use the phrase Deep6's? I love the Register, but some of these titles get absolutely unhinged, and I don't know what they're doing over there. This is a new height or a new low, depending on how you feel about the title. Personally, I like fun like this. So what is this all about? This is about a security post made by the SUSE security team blog, removal of Deepin desktop from OpenSUSE due to packaging policy violation. The TLDR here is the maintainer of the Deepin package in OpenSUSE has been, let's just say, a little bit, sus. But also, upstream hasn't really been taking security issues that seriously, and this isn't a new phenomenon. This has been going on for a number of years now. And for those unaware, this is the Deepin desktop. You probably have seen it from time to time. It's by no means as popular as KDE and GNOME in Western context, but amongst the Chinese distributions, this is a very popular desktop. But even on the Western distros, it's usually going to be available. If not a flavor or a spin, it's going to be available in the repos, and someone's going to be maintaining it. The Deepin desktop environment is part of the Deepin Linux distribution. It focuses on usability, a polished graphical presentation, and support for the Chinese language. It is also available on a number of other Linux distributions, OpenSUSE among them. Among Us. Sorry, when I talk about OpenSUSE, I can't help myself. Recently, we noticed a policy violation in the packaging of the Deepin desktop environment in OpenSUSE. To get around security review requirements, our Deepin community packager implemented a workaround which bypasses the regular RPM packaging mechanisms to install restricted assets. Keep in mind, this is not a stain against the Deepin project itself. This is the packager who is doing some funky things and kind of playing fast and loose with the rules of OpenSUSE. It's a problem, and it should be dealt with, but focus who is the problem here. Now, like every well-run distro out there, OpenSUSE has restrictions on what can be packaged and how those things can be packaged as well. Among others, the installation of dbus system service configuration files and polecat policies require a review by us, because these are things that have very low-level access to your system and can be used to inject things into a system that a user might not want to have. When we are satisfied with a package's security, then we whitelist the respective components. From there on, the package can be submitted to the OpenSUSE factory project in the Open Build service, which is the base for the OpenSUSE Tumbleweed rolling release distribution. For a big project like a Deepin or a KDE or a GNOME or anything else out there which has a lot of polecat policies, a lot of dbus system configuration files, this can be difficult to get the project into the repos. But a lot of those core things are not going to be changing. So once a lot of that is done, it's more of a maintenance burden over time. Things are going to slowly change as new versions come out. But once you have that core there, there's a lot less work to do. But we have been in contact with the OpenSUSE Deepin packager ever since 2017, and have whitelisted various Deepin dbus components in the meantime. A number of Deepin review bugs have seen little progress in recent years, however, because the issues we pointed out have not been addressed properly. So these are things which technically should be addressed, but they were already being addressed through the workarounds being done. The workarounds which were not permitted by the OpenSUSE security team. In January 2025, during routine reviews, we stumbled upon the Deepin feature enable package, which was introduced on April 27th, 2021, without consulting us or even informing us. This is the package right here. This innocently named package implements a license agreement dialog, which basically explains that the SUSE security team has doubts about the security of Deepin, but to properly use Deepin, certain components need to be installed anyway. Thus, if the user does not care about security, then the license should be accepted. If the user accepts, the missing dbus configuration files and polkit policies are automatically extracted into system directories from tarballs found in a Deepin daemon dbus and Deepin daemon polkit packages. The license text also contains a hint suggesting to manually install Deepin file manager dbus and Deepin file manager polkit packages and run a script to sideload further configuration files that are needed for the Deepin file manager dbus component to work. For end users, this effectively means that typing Y during the installation of the Deepin package is enough to opt in to activating components with questionable security which have not been accepted by the Suse security team. The other problem is because these are being extracted from a tarball, if for some reason you were to remove a package or something like that, these would not be cleaned up. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a user going and installing whatever they want on their system. It's Linux, it's your computer, you can do what you want with it. The issue here is these files are kind of acting like stowaways in these packages, finding a way to be injected into OpenSUSE without the security team being able to do the proper testing and proper verification of these files. Now, I'm going to assume the maintainer had the best of intentions here, and these files are actually required to have full functionality in Deepin. Okay, great. But it should go through the security process to make sure that everything is, up to scratch. There's no bugs with these processes. There's nothing being done here that could be done with less permissions being given. Trying to smuggle files in, even if you're doing everything else by the books and you're not trying to do anything bad here, it looks really bad. Now, all of that so far was just the packager being the packager. There are also problems with upstream as well, with them not taking security issues seriously. First one we have here is 4th of December 2017, Deepin API initial review of dbus service and polkit actions. So Deepin API contained a dbus service which ran as root, offering miscellaneous collection of dbus methods on a dbus system bus, e.g. for audio files. We found various issues in the dbus method implementations, most prominently any user in the system was allowed to run various commands like rfkill with arbitrary parameters as root. Polkit authentication was only implemented in some of the dbus methods, while others merely had a to-do marker to add further authentication. Furthermore, the Polkit authentication that was implemented for some methods was subject to a race condition allowing authentication bypass. TLDR? It was cooked. Security did not exist with this. The Deepin packager involved upstream, and we started a discussion in the review bug about how to address the issues. A first attempt to fix them produced incomplete results. We asked for a formal security contact at the Deepin project to offer coordinated disclosure, since we found problems in other Deepin components as well in the meantime. We did not receive an answer to this though. After this initial activity, there was no more progress for 6 months, which is why we closed the bug due to inactivity in December 2019. I am not a fan of closing things to inactivity. It's just a waste of everybody's time. It makes discussions inconsistent and mixed up between different places. Just don't ever do that. In April of 2021, so about a year and a half later, the Deepin packager reopened this bug, assigning it to an upstream developer. In July of 2021, we were finally pointed to the proper fixes for the issues, and we granted a whitelisting for this specific Deepin component in August 2021. So this took a total of 4 years to fix something which is a pretty serious problem. Just so we're on the same page, Deepin is not some random open source project made by 1 or 2 guys who happen to be volunteers on it and work just whenever they feel like it. Deepin is made by a Chinese commercial company. Asking for security contacts, asking for timelines and things like that is pretty standard things when doing company-to-company operations. And if this was some random window manager, I'll give a lot more leeway with things not being dealt with over a number of years. As you can see from things like the Wayland project, yes, I do make fun of it, and yes, it is funny, but I understand why things take a long time. This is a little bit different though. Let's go to March of 2019. Deepin clone is a backup utility for the Deepin desktop. In March of 2019, we received a review request for a Polkit action contained in the package. We found a large number of issues in the implementation of this Polkit action, such as problematic predictable /temp file uses, a world-readable log file in a fixed path in /temp, and a possibility to prevent the unmounting of temporarily mounted block devices. We reported the issues to the packager in April of 2019, and in July of 2019, we were pointed to a couple of fixes, but we found that some issues had still not been addressed and the code in general still looked unclean. The more severe issues had been fixed at least, thus we requested CVs for them and published a report on the OSS security mailing list. We never heard back about the remaining concerns we had, thus the whitelisting for this component was never granted. Let's go to May of 2019. We received a review request for the dbus part and Polkit part of the Deepin file manager package. This application is a file manager similar to Dolphin in KDE or Nautilus in GNOME. The dbus service implemented in the package offers methods to perform actions like mounting Samba network shares or managing the Unix group membership for user accounts in the system. This is one of the packages for which the Deepin packager eventually implemented a whitelisting bypass, as explained in section 2, that being the package which was smuggling in things that it shouldn't have been smuggling in. After reviewing the main dbus service, we could not help but call it a security nightmare. The service methods were not only unauthenticated and thus accessible to all users in the system, but the dbus configuration file also allowed anybody to own the dbus service path on the system bus, which could lead to impersonation of the daemon. Among other issues, the dbus service allowed anybody in the system to create arbitrary new Unix groups, add arbitrary users to arbitrary groups, set arbitrary users Samba passwords, or overwrite almost any file on the system by invoking MKFS on them as root, leading to data loss and denial of service. A couple of bug fixes appeared for the Polkit issues, but once more, they were incomplete. By December 2019, we did not receive any further responses, thus we closed the bug without whitelisting the Polkit policies. 2 years later, in March of 2021, the Deepin packager reopened the bug, but only pointed us to supposed fixes later in October of 2022, over a whole year later. For the dbus service issues, we did not receive any response at all, and once again closed the bug in December 2019 without whitelisting the service. Meanwhile, we published our findings on the OSS security mailing list in August of 2019, and 2 years later, in April of 2021, the Deepin packager reopened the bug, stating upstream would be working on the issues. In August of 2021, an upstream developer was assigned to the bug, who pointed to a partial bug fix, but at the same time, stated that Deepin developers had different opinions. In October of 2022, there were more fixes and a new release packaged for OpenSUSE. The dbus interface received major changes at this point. Polkit authentication was added to some dbus calls now, but it again used deprecated Unix process subject in an unsafe manner, which would allow to bypass authentication by winning a race condition. In November of 2023, the Deepin packager informed us about a new release that was supposed to contain more fixes. This time, some of the problematic dbus methods disappeared completely, but some of the original issues, as well as confusing and broken Polkit authentication attempts, remained. We're just talking about a single issue, by the way. Just in case you forgot, this is something that started in 2019. So, in April of 2024, the Deepin packager informed us again about a new release containing bug fixes. Some more dbus methods simply disappeared and now actually use proper Polkit authentication based on the dbus system bus name. The dbus service configuration still allowed any user in the system to impersonate the service, however. And we did not get further responses for these issues, and the components are still not whitelisted for OpenSUSE due to the frequent alteration of dbus methods in the Deepin file manager daemon, which led to partial bug fixes and new issues appearing. We also refrained from assigning further CVEs for the issue. Formally, each incomplete bug fix would need a dedicated CVE, which would have led to a confusingly long list of CVEs revolving around the same topic that the Deepin file manager daemon has major security issues, some of them likely still unfixed. Let's go to May of 2019 with the Deepin anything package. This is a backend for a desktop search engine. Given how much in Deepin was already unresolved reviews, they did not want to deal with another one until the prior ones had already been resolved. Just taking a quick look at it though, the dbus service configuration allowed any user in the system to register the Deepin anything service on the system bus. And in September of 2024, the Deepin packager approached us again, pointing at changes in the upstream dbus configuration. We did not get around to looking more closely at it again, as we treated Deepin with lower priority at that time. So it is entirely possible that one thing was actually in a good state, alongside everything else, which wasn't. Now, February of 2021 actually went over pretty smoothly, but there was something interesting in the bug report. The Deepin packager stated in the bug that upstream finds itself unable to respond to security bug reports, which is rather worrying for such a big project with such an amount of security issues uncovered. That would probably be why there is a lot of security issues uncovered if they are not able to resolve them. They said they have no time and not enough manpower to deal with security issues. If that's the case, security issues should be the #1 priority. Stop worrying about new features, stop worrying about new additions. If there are these major security issues where there are these crazy root escalation things which are not difficult to exploit, nothing else should be done in the project except for that. The other one in 2021 was also fairly smooth as well, and this had a properly configured polkit policy that only allowed the correct people to execute dangerous things, which is a nice change. Now on to May of 2023. This was also chaos, but things did slow down for a while, likely due to the addition of the Deepin feature enable package, which was being used to smuggle things in starting in 2021. So there probably were other issues that never got dealt with by the security team because they had no idea they were even being brought in. Even understanding the purpose of the dbus service was difficult because there wasn't really any design documentation or purpose description of the component. From looking at the dbus service implementation, we judge that it's a kind of system-wide configuration store for Deepin, contrary to most other Deepin dbus services, not running as root, but as a dedicated, unprivileged service user. So at least, at least something over the years was changed. The issue, though, is it relied on crafting relative paths, which, fine. Kind of. Not at all, actually. It seemed the dbus service should only allow the lookup of JSON configuration files from trusted paths in user. By constructing relative paths, however, the dbus service could be tricked into loading untrusted JSON from arbitrary locations. We were not completely sure about the impact of this, given the fact that it's a configuration store and given the fact that it's not the root user this time, but it's still a problem. It took 3 passes and a year of time, but upstream did fix the combination of inputs that would allow this to happen. And only that problem. They only addressed the problems that were specifically reported and did not verify further issues, so they found more ways to escape the user path restriction. In December of 2024, we were close to whitelisting this dbus service. But then they found more issues in the area of path lookup. This allowed arbitrary users to read and store configuration for arbitrary other users. Now, the other one in 2023 luckily was not that big of a deal. This was just a rename from com.deepin.star to org.deepin.star. Being just a rename, it didn't introduce any new security issues. This was done fairly smoothly. Now to August of 2024. This was the arrival of the Deepin API proxy. This greeted us with over 24 dbus configuration files. Again, upstream description of what the component is supposed to do was very terse. From looking at the implementation, we deduced the proxy component seems to be related to the renaming of interfaces described in the prior section. It also had a local root exploit, which is... nothing changes. Absolutely nothing changes. Also, it was making use of the deprecated polkit Unix process, which is also great. The review of this component is what led to the discovery of the Deepin feature enable whitelisting bypass, since we installed the full Deepin desktop environment for the first time in a long time. This is a very minor desktop, so nobody had done a full security test suite. They've just been looking at the files that they're being provided with. So if the files look fine, everything is fine. They probably should be doing full desktop tests at least once a year, but they won't. After finding out about this, we decided that it was time to reassess the overall topic of Deepin in OpenSUSE based on our long-standing experiences. And then we have the Deepin system monitor, which initially seemed fine, but again, was using the deprecated Unix process. The experience with Deepin software and its upstream during code review that we performed has not been the best. That's one way to put it. More than once, security issues we reported have been replaced by new security issues. Other times, upstream did not invest the effort to fully analyze the issues we reported and fix them insufficiently, creating new issues. Generally, the communication with upstream proved difficult, maybe also due to the language barrier. This is understandable. It is a Chinese project. Yeah, obviously they know some level of English, otherwise they wouldn't be communicating with you. There's definitely a barrier there, though. While upstream stated at times that they don't have enough resources to deal with security reports, which is worrying enough, the design and implementation of Deepin dbus components often change radically in unrelated ways. This makes the security assessment of Deepin components a moving target. Building trust towards Deepin components has been extremely difficult over the years. The history of Deepin code reviews clearly shows that upstream is lacking a security culture, and the same class of security issues keep appearing, using deprecated processes, not having root authentication, things of that nature. Although we only looked at a small fraction of the code Deepin consists of, we found security issues nearly every time we looked at one of its components. Based on these experiences, we expect further security issues to linger in the rest of the Deepin code that does not stick out as the dbus services do, as they ran with raised privileges. Given the experience we have gathered with Deepin dbus services, we consider it likely that they break user isolation. These components are certainly not fit for multi-user systems. Even on a single-user system, they will be weakening defense in depth significantly. Due to the combination of everything going on, this is resulting in the complete removal of the Deepin desktop from OpenSUSE Tumbleweed and from the future Leap 16.0. In Leap 15.6, only the Deepin feature enable package, the package being used to smuggle things in, will be removed, because you don't really want to remove a package that people are using for their entire desktop on what's supposed to be a stable release. But future versions will be gone. Given the size of the Deepin project, we would also like to see other Linux distributions and security community join us in trying to establish a better security culture with Deepin upstream. Now, for those who want to keep using Deepin, there is still going to be a third-party repo available, and you can go and install it, so that stuff is all there for you. In its current state, I can't imagine they would be recommending it right now, but it is there if you want to keep doing so. So right now, things are a bit of a mess here, and I don't think it's just a mess for the Deepin project. The fact that it took that many years to even notice there was a problem with Deepin is also a problem in OpenSUSE itself. Like, how do you have a big desktop offering that for 4 years you have a package that violates your security process and nobody even notices it's there? Like, I don't understand. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of this whole situation? Do you think that there is a security culture lacking with Deepin? Do you happen to run Deepin? I would love to know. So if you liked the video, go like the video. If you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out my Patreon, subscribe to the Libera Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and Deep 6 Deepin. What a ridiculous title.
Like this.